Hey everyone, welcome to episode 1 of Adaptation News, where I talk about the books that you love and the adaptations that are upcoming for the big and small screen. I am Nick Hill with Shelf-Esteem, and I'm very excited to talk to you on this inaugural episode a little bit about something that I know very well, a world I know very well, which is adaptations. For those of you who don't know me, I am a composer, now also a booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2, His Dark Materials Season 3, and the official Brent Weeks companion album for his series Lightbringer that came out last year. So I happen to know a thing or two about adaptations. I pitch on a lot of adaptations, and now I've started a production company with a couple of filmmaker friends of mine, and we are looking at adapting works of our own. So it's a world I know very well, and I've kind of gotten to be privy to, kind of industry knowledge about how these things work over the course of the last few years, as well as, I have a subscription to IMDb Pro. I'm always tracking projects that are in development and kind of seeing how they're moving down the pipeline. And especially now that the strikes are over and people are looking to get back to work and studios are looking back to, greenlighting projects again, we're living in an exciting time because, of course, adaptations are part of that. So without further ado, let's kind of dive into some of these. I'm going to talk to you kind of each one a little bit about them, and I'm going to provide some articles down below. So if you want to know more information about certain ones, some of these are more just kind of conjecture, they're announced, or there's specific things that have happened in the project, but no articles have been necessarily written about them. There are no formal announcements, but we can kind of surmise where this adaptation might be heading. But for the ones where there are articles, they will be listed below. So without further ado, please like and subscribe if you like this kind of video and you want to see more of this kind of content. This is my first episode, but I plan on doing this like every month. Maybe I can do it once every couple weeks. Depends on how this all goes. But would love to hear from you if you like this and would want to see more of it as well. So without further ado, let's kind of get into these books. So just a couple of days ago, the author Joe Nesbo announced that his book, The Night House, is currently in development. So I'm pulling up an article here where they talk a little bit about that. So it was featured in Deadline, and it says, the project combines Nesbo with veteran producer Frederick Wickstrom Nicastro, who did A Man Called Otto, which was originally called A Man Called Uwe by Frederick Bachmann, an adaptation of his novel. It says, of Hope Studios and writer and director Jesper Ganslant, co-creator and director of hit Netflix show Snabba Cash. Ganslant will direct and co-script with Nesbo. Co-scripting is always a good thing. I think with authors having a little bit more creative control over these projects, things usually end up going a little bit better. Oftentimes when people try to do an adaptation that is not in the spirit of the author's intended work, it ends up going a little sideways. I'm all for free interpretation. I think that's a rich part of the medium, but to be able to do it with the blessing of the author, I think is always a good thing. So that's something, my personal take on it. But and so no further announcements besides the fact that it's been acquired and it's being developed right now. But that's always exciting for horror book fans and for Joe Nesbo fans. So that's the first kind of piece of news here. Just pulling up my list here because we actually have quite a few to get through. So for Stephen King fans, you can rejoice because we have a few things that are either in various stages of development or slated for release. The Institute by Stephen King, which came out in 2019. And this kind of project was originally being developed around that time, and then COVID happened, of course, and the strikes and stuff. So it fell on the back burner, went kind of through this development hell, and it was just not really being greenlit or anything like that. The showrunners for this are Jack Bender and David E. Kelly. Now, you may know them from Mr. Mercedes fame. So there was 3 seasons that they adapted for that particular show. And it was quite good, actually. I watched some of it. I haven't gotten through all 3 seasons yet, but it was quite good from what I saw. I thought the casting was really good, and it felt like in the spirit of those books. If you haven't read the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, definitely check it out. Sidebar. This was in development hell for a while. And as of August 20th, 2024, it is now filming. So this is a really good news for this particular adaptation. I've been personally, on a personal note, wanting to see this come to fruition for a while because I found the book very riveting, and I think it would work really well for the small screen. So excited to see where that goes. No formal announcements on the release date or anything like that, and they still have a ways to go in their kind of production journey, but it is filming now, which means the money's in the bank and it's being spent on production. That's always a good thing. So good times ahead for Stephen King fans. The other Stephen King piece of news is that Salem's Lot, the long-awaited film from James Wan Amazon's production, as well as New Line and WB, is going to be released on October 3rd on Max, which is very good news because, we had heard about this for a while. We had heard it was completed. It was just kind of sitting on the back burner. We didn't know why it wasn't being released. And, it was kind of a little bit baffling, really, because, for a film to be done and then not released, you think like, are they trying to time it to a specific thing? Was it so bad that they don't want to release it at all? So it was a little bit contentious there for a little while. And then they dropped the trailer, of course. I'm going to link the trailer below in case you haven't checked it out. Trailer was surprisingly good, actually. I think it looked pretty promising. And I'm going to personally, watch it on October 3rd when it comes out and do a review and comparison to the book on October 4th. Because I think it's always interesting to kind of see, how does the medium compare to the original and the author's intention. That's always kind of an interesting thing to see. And I think in particular with Stephen King, because I think his adaptations are very hit or miss. So that'll be really nice to see. So that was the second piece of Stephen King news. And the third piece of Stephen King news, there's quite a few here, is that his short story or novella, The Life of Chuck, which was in the If It Bleeds collection that came out, I think 2022 or 2021, which was developed by Mike Flanagan, who, of course, did Gerald's Game, Dr. Sleep. He's currently developing the Dark Tower adaptation right now for Amazon. And so he, directed this particular adaptation of The Life of Chuck. It was a Toronto Festival winner, and now it has been acquired by Neon for distribution. So again, no further details on where or when it's going to be distributed, but I'm leaving the article about that below in case you want to check that out as well. And I'll keep updating you all as kind of this moves further down the pipeline. And then the last piece of Stephen King news. It's like 4 pieces of Stephen King news today. It's really great. Oh no, there's one more. Okay, 5 pieces of Stephen King news. Stephen King is my favorite author of all time, by the way. I have a whole shelf dedicated to the man back there, so always nice to talk about some Stephen King. But The Monkey, which was also Stephen King's short story, which was released in 1980, is being developed by Atomic Monster and is being directed by Osgood Perkins. And it now stars Elijah Wood, which is going to be really interesting casting for this. And as of July 31st, it is in post-production. So post-production is kind of where the filming is done and everything, and now they're going to be getting the music and the sound design and the color grading and the editing and everything like that in. So that's very exciting times for this. And there's actually a release date on IMDb Pro, which it says is going to be February 21st, 2025. So we have some more Stephen King to look forward to in the coming months. So always a good thing. And the last piece of Stephen King news, I swear this is the last one, is The Long Walk, which was the first thing that Stephen King wrote that he published under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. Fantastic book, by the way. If you haven't checked it out, you got to check it out. It was being developed by New Line for a while, and then now it is with Lionsgate. It is filming as of July 24th, 2024. So good times ahead for this particular one. This was also kind of waffling back and forth. It was, with one studio, then it was with another studio. So it's always nice to see it actually being made. Sometimes when things get acquired, you kind of never really know. You see the announcement, you get excited, and then, crickets for a while, right? So when this starts moving forward, always a good thing. All you Robert McCammon fans, I'm very excited to mention this one because Robert McCammon has become one of my favorite authors. And I have loved his books. I feel like his character work is phenomenal. And I read the book Stinger about maybe a year or two ago. And I just love this idea of this kind of alien invasion, alien like body snatchers kind of trope in like a small Georgia town. There is now a TV series called Teacup. And it was developed by Atomic Monster. And it's now available on Peacock. As of this taping. So pretty awesome. And if you haven't read the book, by the way, I highly recommend you check it out. I have not watched this. I'm not sure how it's going to, measure up. You kind of never know with these types of things. But I'm very excited about this because this is the first Robert McCammon adaptation that I can think of. Swan Song is also being developed, separately. And it's kind of just running its course right now. And I believe, was there another one? I think those are the 2. I know Boy's Life had been acquired by Universal a while back, but I don't know that they have any plans to make it. And that kind of ends up being something that really sucks in the industry sometimes, is when something is acquired, but it never gets made. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that's what I'd read at the last article I'd heard about. It was like 2014 or something about it. So Robert McCammon fans can rejoice on that one. So very excited about that one. Now, moving on to Now, something slightly different, a fantasy novel by Tomi Adeyemi, who did the Children of Blood and Bone series. So I heard about this adaptation being acquired. I think at the last time I had seen this, it was in development. It was with Lionsgate and Disney, which was kind of cool. And this is kind of like an African-inspired fantasy. Phenomenal book, by the way. I've read the first one, Children of Blood and Bone. The second one is called Children of Virtue and Vengeance, I think. I forget if the third book is out. Let me know in the comments if it's out. But so this is being adapted, an adaptation of Children of Blood and Bone. It's finally landed with Paramount now. And as of this day, it is officially in pre-production. So that is very exciting because this is, again, one of those pre-COVID acquisitions that had been kind of going from studio to studio. And it's nice to see it land somewhere and actually be greenlit and kind of be moving down the pipeline. So I'll keep you posted on updates about that one as well. And of course, I'm leaving the article about it below so you can kind of check that out. Then the penultimate piece of news here is even more different. So John Steinbeck's East of Eden is being developed right now by Anonymous Content and Netflix. It is starring Florence Pugh, Mike Faust, and Christopher Abbott. And as of August 14th, 2024, it is officially in pre-production. That means they're casting, they're kind of getting ready for their shoot dates and things like that. So again, money's in the bank, things are moving forward, greenlit and all, and actors attached. So exciting times for John Steinbeck fans. I read East of Eden, I think in high school. It's been a while since I've read it, and I've kind of started to reread it, and I was like, oh my God, it's just it's a masterwork, and I live in California. I've been through the Salinas Valley and everything, and to read about it is really kind of phenomenal. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this all goes as well. And I know actually a good friend of mine is on the production team as well. So, it's been nice to kind of see him working on it as well. So that's the penultimate piece of news. Now, this last piece of news could be the most earth-shattering in some ways, but it is also the most speculative. So, for Brandon Sanderson fans, everybody has wanted to see a Mistborn adaptation for a while now. And of course, Stormlight Archive, but Mistborn is the one that Brandon Sanderson had been really pushing forward. It had been kind of, announced in 2017. It was with DMG, and Dan Mintz, I think, is the producer there. And then it was just kind of like, it's hard to find budgets for fantasy films, especially fantasy trilogies and stuff like that. It's very expensive to make them and to make them right. And luckily, I think Brandon Sanderson, has seen how other adaptations can go. Not going to mention any names, of course, but he wants to kind of right the wrongs of those and really have creative control, and he doesn't want to just kind of sell it to the highest bidder, So he's kind of waiting for the right opportunity to come along. Now, I was looking on IMDb Pro, and it's kind of like a industry, website where you can track projects that are in development across the pipelines. Now, I was looking at it just the other day, and I'm just pulling up the Mistborn page here. So for the longest time, there was just, Brandon Sanderson, Dan Mintz, and Scott Fraser was one of the writers. So now I'm noticing there's more people being added to this list. So there's a location scout. There is a costume digital asset manager that was just added like the other day. There are set designers added. There are assistant art directors added. So does that mean that it's been greenlit, that the money's in the bank, that the shoot dates are being figured out? Not necessarily. Maybe a line producer is on board. Maybe they've kind of budgeted out what this thing would cost. Maybe they're getting location scouts attached. They're kind of getting their ducks in a row so that when they get the green light, they can kind of really push forward. This is all speculative, but we do know Dragonsteel is coming up. And you know that Brandon Sanderson is a showman when it comes to making announcements. So maybe there's an announcement on the horizon. Who knows? But I will say that this is very heartening to see. And I, for one, am chomping at the bit for this one. Like, this one I'm probably the most excited about out of any of them. This one and the Stephen King, The Institute, on a personal note. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this one come down the pike. And I just had to share that news with you because, being able to see the kind of access of real-time people being added to this is kind of fun to see, and you can kind of track and kind of, even if something hasn't been announced on the, via an article or something like that, you can kind of get a sense of where a project might be heading. So what do you all think? Do you think Mistborn is actually going to be announced in Dragonsteel? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of Adaptation News. I'm going to keep it coming, and I'm going to keep updating you all as these projects keep going down the pipeline. And yeah, just let me know what you liked about this segment, what you think could be better as well, because I always like improving with every video, and I always want to deliver value and serve you all. That's the fun of this, and creating a community where we can agree and disagree, or agree to disagree. So anything that you have to say, leave it in the comments, and it's always welcome. Your opinion is valid, and it's always appreciated. So with that, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It always helps the algorithm gods push this out to the relevant people. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Thank you so much for watching. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.